The Israelites, Banu Israel, Allah talks about them so much because we're supposed to learn a lot from them. We're supposed to learn from their mistakes. And one of their mistakes was the way that they used to ask questions of their own prophet. Whatever came in their head, they want to ask about it. Whatever curiosity they have, they want to come and ask about it. Even in the narrations we find in the Quran, sometimes the Yahud would come to the Prophet ﷺ, the Banu Israel would come in Medina and they would say, oh yeah, how come sometimes a baby boy is born? How come sometimes a baby girl is born? Then sometimes they'll come and ask, so who are these people of the cave? Who are these people? Or tell us about this, tell us about that. Oh yeah, give me this answer, give me this answer. In other words, whatever question comes in their head, they say, we're going to ask. And if you don't have the answer, you have a problem. Now let's pause for a second. I don't want to talk about Bani Israel. I want to talk about us. I have people come to me and say, Ustad, you do research, right? I'm like, yeah, I do research. I got a question. I asked a lot of scholars. Nobody has the answer to this question. Let me ask you this question. This has happened to me hundreds of times. People very proud of their question because nobody can answer their question. And you know what? Even if you give them the answer, they're like, they're going to go to the next guy and say, I asked a lot of people this question. Nobody got the answer to my question. Let me ask you this question too. Where do questions come from? Whatever you're thinking about, wherever your mind goes, that's the direction that your questions are going to come from. If you're thinking about cars all the time, you're going to have questions about cars. If you're thinking about money all the time, you're going to have questions about making money. Wherever your mind is focused, that's where questions arise from. Now the issue is, what Allah gave us in His revelation, what He gave us in the Quran, He gave us a book. It's not a book of answers for your questions. It's not Allah's revealed Google for you. Allah gave us a Quran. He gave us a messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yes or no? He gave us these things. And He says about His surahs, لِيَدَّبَّرُوا آيَاتِهِ, so they think deeply about His ayat. لَعَلَّكُمْ تَعْقِلُونَ, so you can think. When He says so you can think, He is making us focus on the things that He's talking about, yes? But what's happened with a lot of Muslims is, now you'll notice Muslims are starting to have doubt in Islam. And you will notice one thing that is in common among all of them. Their questions never come from studying the Quran. Their questions always come from outside, from some YouTube video here, some TikTok over there, some article over here, something they heard over here, they were watching the news, they were watching a movie, they have these questions, and then they say, Islam better give me an answer to all of my questions. And if it doesn't have my answers, then this is not the right religion for me. Obviously, Allah will not waste time answering your useless questions because you're not respecting what Allah is giving you. You're not giving time to that. You're not focusing on that. And so as a result, He says when you keep asking these kinds of questions, it starts taking away your iman. With every question, your iman is being taken away. And slowly, 1% of Iman got replaced with, I guess Islam doesn't have this answer. Then the next one, Islam's not that impressive. And you're becoming ungrateful for Islam. One of the words for being ungrateful is kufr. Kufr is not just disbelief. Kufr is also kufran al-ni'mah. It means to be ungrateful. So Allah says, وَمَنْ يَتَبَدَّلِ الْكُفْرَ بِالْإِيمَانِ فَقَدْ ضَلَّ سَوَاءَ السَّبِيلِ. Are you going to ask questions like Musa was asked before? Because whoever replaces kufr with iman, then they've gone off on the wrong path. That's why they're asking these wrong kinds of questions. We all have questions, we're human beings. You can't help it. There's no way you can stop your mind from having questions. But try this for me. Take all of your questions and you take a shelf in your brain and you put them in the shelf and you lock the shelf. Close it. Hold your questions. Don't think about them all the time. Let them go. And then start studying the Quran. Study the Fatiha, study Baqarah, study Ali Imran. Take time, even if it's little, 30 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day. But study Allah's book and think about what Allah is saying. Don't think about it from the point of view of your question. I'm looking for the answer to my question. Let me see if I find it. No. Your questions are on pause. They're in the fridge. Let them get cold. Your focus is on what Allah is saying. And you know what's going to happen? So many of your questions will start disappearing. Because you'll realize those questions were pointless. There was no purpose to them. When Musa alayhi salam was asked what color cow, there was no point to that question. When he was asked, is it a young cow or an old cow, there was no point to that question. So what does Allah do when you study the Quran? He guides your questions. As you put those questions on the side and you start asking Allah directly what He's talking about, focus on the lesson at hand, you will find that eventually you'll open that shelf and it will be empty inside. There won't be anything left. All those questions will either disappear or Allah will answer them in a way that no human being could answer them. That is the gift that Allah has given us in the Quran. That's why He keeps telling us, not أَفَلَا تَعْلَمُونَ, why don't you know? Why don't you know? Allah says, أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ, why don't you then think? Don't you think? لَعَلَّكُمْ تَعْقِلُونَ, so you can think. Because questions are related directly to thought. What you think about is what you will ask about. I pray that Allah makes us people that think about the Quran. They think about the word of Allah, because that will guide our thoughts. And once our thoughts are guided, our questions are also going to be guided. Barakallahu li wa lakum fil Quran al-Hakim, wa nafa'ani wa iyyakum bil ayati wa dhikr al-Hakim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.